Hello there. I am Shaun McLaren, and this is Tron. Tron McLaren. Anyways, this is mono green Tron. You know it, you love it, it's Tron. It's Tron, alright? Here's his mine, here's his power plant, there's his tower, 7 mana, play Karn, win. Extend the hand, GG, everyone celebrates. Fade to black. Credits roll. So yeah, this is mono green Tron. A lot of players choose to splash either red, black, white, or play mono blue Tron. But I prefer mono green Tron just because it's the best against land destruction in general. It's the smoothest. You still have the great draws you still have your best draws of just natural Tron, play Karn or Wormcoil, win the game. And your awkward draws where your opponents are ghost quartering you multiple times or blood mooning you, you have a bit more resiliency thanks to these forests. So kind of good against land destruction and good for consistency. You're giving up on some powerful removal though. But the deck, I think, also has enough sideboard cards that you're just happy not adding another color. You have a bunch of good sideboard cards, so that's why I like mono green. As for the cards in the deck, you have the land base. Obviously, your 4-ofs are these fellows to add a bunch of mana. Then the forests, and then for special lands to search up on special occasions, we have Sanctum of Ugin for increasing your threat redundancy. If you only have one Karn, you can search up an Ulamog in the late game and win the game next turn. Horizon Canopy adds green and draws a card, which is nice some of the time when you're flooded and you don't have any threats. You just want to draw another card quick. Gear Reach Sanitarium also acts similarly as redundant card draw, although it does help your opponent as well. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. Of course, your cards are much better, your big cards, than your opponent, so presumably it's helping you more than it's helping them by a great deal a lot of the time, and of course you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Ghost Quarter, good against manlands, which are otherwise pretty tricky, and for the mirror, blowing up Tron lands. Relics for graveyard decks, and then stars, spheres, maps, stirrings, pretty much standard 4-ofs no matter what. All of these, same with Sylvan Scrying. Wall of Roots is actually another great little flow card that I give the old thumbs up A-OK of approval. It blocks, it adds mana. It's great in the deck because you play Wall of Roots and then you can immediately use it to play another 1-drop, and then even use that mana on your opponent's turn is often very relevant for the deck. So kind of an underrated card you don't always see in Tron decks, but I like it a lot. Not all decks are playing 4 O-Stones. I also don't like that. I love O-Stone in the deck. Same goes with Wormcoil. Just having 4, they're just such good cards. Like, look at these cards. They're insane. Blow up everything, or just lifelink, death touch, 3/3s. Wormcoil Engine, amazing. Karn, yeah, exile everything. Turn 3, pretty good. Worldbreaker is a nice new addition. Super redundant. You can return it from the graveyard. Kind of acts as Karn. Only downside is that you have to have a green mana to cast it, so you aren't necessarily able to cast it on when you're just turn 3 Troning without a sphere or a star. But other than that, great. Ugin, another good card, although not great against some of the decks, particularly Affinity and Eldrazi Tron, or the Mirror, I guess. But very powerful effect. Instead of just exiling one thing like Karn, you exile all the things. Walking Ballista, also kind of a new addition that I haven't really played with much, but it seems like a nice card, in particular with Sanctum of Ugin. You can either search for it or cast it where X is 4, and then use it to search for a better card, basically. But both Ballista is good against like smaller creature decks, like Affinity or Elves. Very good. And then Ulamog, the top of the food chain for the deck, and usually just wins you the game when you cast it. 10 mana though, so we're looking to get 7 mana easily. 10 mana isn't that much of a stretch either, but it is a bit slower, so we don't want too many. A lot of decks run 2. I'm just happy running 1 and then focusing more on Worm Coils for the lower end. Sideboard, Relic, Grafdigger's Cage for the graveyard decks. Nature's Claim is going to be great against Affinity, Lantern, that sort of thing. Also gets a lot of hate cards like Spreading Seas, Stony Silence, Blood Moon. So super useful in that regard. Warping Whale, also a newerish card that is good for exiling like Devoted Druids and Viziers, Affinity cards, and countering sorceries. So kind of just a versatile little card. Not that powerful, but pretty versatile. Rule of Law is kind of speculative. Your only land that casts it is Horizon Canopy, but you have your spheres and your stars to help. So it's going to obviously be great against like Ad Nauseam, Living End, Storm, that sort of thing, but a little bit hard to cast. I mean, it could be Trinisphere, but Rule of Law in particular, like against Ad Nauseam, seems much better. Obstinate Baloth maybe is kind of becoming obsolete. You used to run this in Tron, but for against Burn and Liliana the Veil, but Liliana the Veil is not really a card that sees a lot of play right now, so maybe time to retire the Baloth. But look at him, he's so cute and happy. Creeping Corrosion for Affinity and Lantern. Thragtusks just as sort of another Worm Coil-ish type card. If you're expecting a lot of land destruction, it's nice to have Thragtusk, because if your opponent's keeping you off Tron, it's not hard to get to 5 mana, thanks to like Wall of Roots and what have you. All is Dust, great against some decks, terrible against others, so it's a sideboard card. And Ugin, also another All is Dust type effect that has more board presence but is just a tad bit slower. So yeah, that's the deck. Let's get to it and start carning some chumps.